I feel like the location of this video is fucking ironic because I'm literally in my car to get away from the feeling of being watched and heard, and I'm still looking around even though I'm on a fucking country road in a small town. I'm still like, oh my god, what if someone like taps on my window? They're still looking, they're still thinking, what is that girl doing? Which is really, really ironic given the title of today's video. As you can tell, I'm not in my usual location. As I said, needed my own space to film this video, and I'm currently visiting family right now. Anyway, how are you guys doing today? I have been honestly in a cycle these last couple of days of just overthinking a lot. I now try and channel this overthinking into ways that I can communicate how I overthink so that it's able to be understood and perhaps related to by some of you. I realized that this feeling that I'm talking about in today's video is something that I've struggled with for as long as I can remember, but I've never communicated it. I've never actually voiced it. I've never even thought about voicing it because it was just my experience of being a human, and that is the feeling of always being watched. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about this, so I'm hoping that people will be able to relate to this and it's not just a me problem, it's like an everybody problem. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Elena, I'm from New Zealand, and I was diagnosed with autism at age 25. I say that so many times I feel like, oh my god, people are overhearing that. I am somebody who has always been very, very aware of my presence in the world, where I stood, not taking up too much space, not being too much of a problem, too loud, too quiet, just right in the middle. And it was never authentic, it was just what I thought people wanted me to be. Subsequently, like, this meant that I developed a very, very strong mask, and now I'm trying to really like get this mask off because it's so tightly screwed on there. I was just noticing myself a couple days ago when I was driving. I could describe myself as kind of a nana driver. I am not the fastest on the road. I go the speed limit, but it seems that no one fucking else does, and everyone gets annoyed with people who do go the speed limit, but I digress. And I was just like, oh my god, I'm just so mean to myself because I don't allow myself to exist without factoring everybody else's opinion of what I'm doing at any given moment. And so as I'm driving, I'm thinking about this topic, and I've kind of written some notes here down on my phone, and that brings me to you guys today. When I walk around in public, I do not try and make eye contact with people. If I catch people's eye, I smile, and you know, I'm not a bitch. I'm friendly, but I try to not engage, and that is just, you know, probably just social anxiety that comes with autism, it seems. And I hold myself, you know, my posture is good. I'm, you know, always have my noise cancelling headphones in, and I'm just like beeline to where I'm going. God forbid if I trip up. God forbid if I stumble, or if I, you know, be human, I guess. I just immediately see, like, in my mind's eye, like, if I drop something off the shelf at a supermarket, or if I cough in public, cough in a library, my mind's eye just immediately sees everyone just go, like, what? You made a noise? What? You are existing? And I don't know if this is something that other autistic people struggle with. I feel that people are always looking at me, and that sentence, I hear it, and I know that other people are going to hear that and go, well, she's narcissistic, she thinks way too highly of herself, she thinks the world operates around her. And it's like, yeah, I kinda do. I kinda do feel that. If I do cough, like, yeah, the world is going to stop and stare at me. But it's not that I want that, and it's not that I think I'm the hottest piece of ass there is and everyone needs to be staring at me. Like, fuck, I don't want it. But it's just how my mind has been ingrained to think. And I know that this is a byproduct of, well, for one, having too much of a mask, highly functioning with a mask, but I also wonder what impact this has with being a female. When you're a female, autistic, neurotypical, or whatever you are, you kind of are aware of your presence in the world. You know, you don't just go for a run at night because you know that people are going to be looking at you and, you know, thinking whatever they're going to be thinking, and you get catcalled from time to time. And this is not just a me experience, this is like a female experience. And so I also wonder, has that had an impact on my mind? It is just, all I can say is a hypervigilance of myself and the world, and like there's always this spotlight feeling. And keep in mind, when I say this doesn't just have to be in public, and there can be nobody else around and it still feels like I need to be doing the right thing, otherwise people are like, what is she doing? I wonder also, these are just my hypotheses as I was driving to my hometown, I also wonder if this is a byproduct of never quite understanding the world around me, being corrected as a child, you know, good, bad, that's good behavior, that's bad behavior, we don't do that. And there is a bigger emotion that's elicited when you do bad behavior, so you quickly shape into line, you know, what adults are wanting from you. And maybe this is what's like made me into this like hyper vigilant woman today. Like, am I doing the right thing? Is everybody like, am I catering to everybody? I hear just how ridiculous this sounds, and I'm God hoping that people relate. I went onto Reddit when I stopped and realized that this is a common thing, or maybe not a common thing, but you know, Reddit, there's always people that like kind of understand. So I've screenshotted a couple of these comments and obviously going to share them anonymously, and I think they probably do a better way at conveying their experience than I do, so I wanted to read them out to you. I'm starting to understand that many of the behaviors attributed to autism are trauma responses. The people who define autism have no clue how damaging being autistic in neurotypical society is. My internal monologue is basically me talking in my head about every possible outcome, about every thought I have. I hate it so much. I can't do anything without judging myself. God forbid I make a mistake, because I have to stop whatever I'm doing and immediately analyze it, or continue on autopilot while I disassociate and examine what I need to do better so no one laughs at me. It's miserable. I really like that, because this person kind of talks about the internal monologue, and I definitely think that this internal monologue is extremely loud for autistic people. And when I say internal monologue, it can also be like presented outwardly. So quite often you will see me, if I'm on my own, I talk to myself a lot. Not enough that like people are like, oh God, you know, she's seeing things. It's more to the point, like if I'm having to find a park. Driving seems to be a very stressful part of my existence, but if I'm trying to find a park and like someone's trying to reverse in, and it's kind of this like I'm like, okay, you do that, I'll go in, thank you, okay, now I'll go in, right, what do I need to get? And it allows me to kind of think about what it is that I'm doing, so that I'm therefore behaving in the right way. That was just a really simple side note that I just wanted to share. And then this person, I really liked this. Absolutely. I recognized it mentally like a year ago as the fear of being perceived. I saw someone say that it's a masking thing, and yeah, that sounds about right. I make for a nice roommate because I literally don't want to do anything ever that could possibly be perceived by others as in the way or harmful. I tend to hide in my room with everything I do at a volume that isn't audible to other people. I feel like I'm constantly muting myself for other people, and I don't even think that anyone else is paying attention. When I was a kid, I would yell at everyone that left my room to close the goddamn door. Not only am I scared of being perceived, I'm especially scared of being perceived wrongly. I'm also very prone to noticing what other people are doing when I'm in a room because of my autism/ADHD, so I also wonder if it has to do with that. Little tiny things others do can bother me, so I try to make sure I don't do anything of the like. Let's just soak in that person's ability to communicate their human experience, because that sounds like my life. You know, when you find somebody, and I really hope that I'm that person, you know, I really want people to be like, wow, this girl says my experience, because there's nothing worse than not having the communication, the vocabulary to express your experience. But man, that person, just with the doing everything at a volume that isn't audible to other people, like, fuck, man, I love that so much. I mean, I don't love that, but I love that someone was able to express themselves in that way. What do we do about it, and what have I done about it? If I am, and I am, a very socially awkward person, but if I, you know, stuff up in a conversation to a neurotypical standard, a really embarrassing one for me is like if someone says, oh, hi, and they don't say how are you, but my brain is like so in tune to the script, like, hi, good, and then it's like, oh, that plagues me. I mean, that happened years ago and I'm still talking about it, so I tend to try and not make mistakes too often because it fucking plagues me for years. But you know, let's take the example of that. Now, if I did that, or something as equally as embarrassing in my mind, what I try and remind myself when I'm in a safe point that I can talk to myself, because I need to audibly hear myself talk, I try and parent me. I try and remind my brain that if it's not going to matter in 5 years, it doesn't matter for the next 5 minutes of your thinking. Just remember that if you feel that you have done something really embarrassing, like trip up in public or drop something or cough, just remind yourself that even if people look at you and notice that and you're like, oh god, now I'm the talk of the town, and like they're going to be sharing that, what I did, with their friends because it was so embarrassing, most people don't give a fuck, because they are too consumed with their own problems, their own shit. By the time they go to bed that night, they are not thinking about, oh my god, that person did this, how funny. They are not thinking about that. They're thinking about their own lives and how they are so bored with it. Everybody is too consumed with themselves, just like we are. That is my advice, and while I do believe in it, it is really hard in the moment because our brains like really sink the teeth into the problem and like have to rip it apart and like, oh, I need to do better. But honestly, it really doesn't matter. And the more you do it, the more you remind yourself like, fuck, it doesn't matter, nobody cares, the more natural it is going to feel. And that's it. That's what I've got. This is a very new concept in my mind that I'm talking about and exploring. Sometimes it can be nice just to hear somebody share the experience that you go through on a daily basis. So with that, I hope someone can relate to this. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am going to drive away now because I just feel it looks a little bit dodgy, like parked up on a dirt road type deal. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this and you relate to what I'm saying, I make a lot of neurodivergent content, which I will link my social medias down below. I love you very, very much. Have a fabulous day. Don't overthink, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.